as you hear me note often, 2020 was the dumbest year in modern history, maybe ever. For the tyrants, thugs, and fearmongers, though, it was their pinnacle, and God willing, it will never return. I think y'all are old enough to remember that during that stupid time, many of us were made to feel as though we had to sit down and shut up if our thoughts, beliefs, ideals, and basic common sense didn't align with the lunacy being thrust upon us forcibly. Well, this story is a poster child for that. Tracy Turner was the longtime fire captain right here in Nashville, Tennessee. That was until posts on his personal social media on BLM protesters and rioters surfaced. He was then demoted to the lowest rank in the department. Well, he sued over it, arguing the city violated his First Amendment rights, and a judge agreed. He reached a settlement with the city for $105,000. Well, here is where it gets wild and great. In March of just last year, Metro Council members rejected that settlement, saying his free speech crossed the line. So it went back to the courts. Oh, and this is good. Just weeks ago, a federal jury awarded Tracy Turner a whopping $1.8 million in damages, plus attorney's fees. Sweet, sweet justice, and a true testament to FAFO. Tracy Turner joins me now. All right, I love this story. I love this story because I live in Nashville. I love this story because I moved to Nashville in 2020, and I was very outspoken about all the lunacy that was going on a number of different fronts here. But I read the overview. We got to go back to when this was all happening, right? This is 2020. It's a weird time, a very weird time. You made some posts on your social media saying some things about BLM. I didn't think they were beyond the pale at all. I happen to agree with you. But what were these posts, and why were they construed to be so nefarious by the city?
That I never really understood. The posts that I made weren't about the particular group of BLM. It was about the thugs that were doing the domestic terrorism. I never mentioned the race because it was all races that were in the Antifa and BLM.
Well, and I'd also say this, a thug is not specific to any race. You can be a thug of any race, gender, nationality, sexual preference. It doesn't matter. You can have animals that are thugs, my goodness. It's talking about the behavior. A thug is somebody who exhibits a certain behavior. And it just so happened that BLM and Antifa during the Summer of Love 2020 were exhibiting those behaviors. And they were exhibiting them right here in Nashville, Tennessee. They had one night of mayhem on Broadway where they decided to smash things and loot things and, cause chaos and destruction. And they also spent a lot of time protesting, at the courthouse. So that's what was going on around the country, but also right here in Nashville. But, you made a couple statements about it, saying give my audience a sense of some of the things that you said.
Well, actually, I was referring to the riots and what was going on. One of the posts that got me in trouble, I said it's not that Antifa and BLM thugs are so strong as to take over a city. It's just the Democratic mayors are so weak as to let it happen. That was
correct.
A big no-no in Nashville. And another one, this was the first meeting when my disciplinary started.
Right.
I'd said a verse about listening to Jesus more when we do these biased newscasts. I said we'd all get along a lot better. That was forcing my religion on people coming from this PIO we have in Nashville.
Oh, okay.
He was, I think he was the one that was pushing this mostly. Yeah, I think, as a matter of fact, I think he manipulated the council, the higher chiefs, and the media as well.
Well, that wasn't hard to do in Nashville or in 2020. But to give my audience a sense of this, you're basically saying on your personal social media, it wasn't a professional capacity.
I didn't list that I was firefighter on there.
Exactly. It's just you, just being an individual. You were saying, you were seeing things, you were posting about them similar to what I and many others did during that really stupid, crazy time. Yes, you also made some posts, and this was kind of unrelated, but also in the scope about some of the COVID mandates and, things of that nature. I also did that. I was very harsh on our then mayor, John Chicken Cooper, on what he did to our city, not only, in my opinion, encouraging some of the riots around George Floyd, but also his mask mandates, the curfews, the harassment of business owners. A lot of it was pure lunacy, but you had an opinion on it, and you said it in your personal capacity. And then you had people come down on you, and, ultimately, your discipline and your consequences of that is being demoted to the lowest rank in the department?
Yes, ma'am.
So tell me how that went down. Give me how that process played out for you.
Well, I'd have to tell you about the 3 disciplinaries.
Oh, you got 3 disciplinaries. Okay, yes, you got sent to the principal's office.
I came, and this was the odd part of it. I came into the first. I got a call on my day off from a commander that said, "Tracy, take down those posts." And I said, I'll be glad to take them down. I said, what post are you talking about? And he said, the 2 fists. And I'd copied and pasted an article from, I think it was the Patriot paper. And it was Gallatin, I believe, wrote it. And it was just comparing the BLM leaders who happened to be self-proclaimed Marxists and Karl Marx and CCP. And it showed all these parallels. And I thought, it's stuff that I didn't even have any idea about, about the nuclear family, how they wanted to destroy that.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was interesting. So I put it up. And then when he told me to take it down, I asked him, I said, could you just tell me what it was? What was the problem? He said, just take it down. So I did. That afternoon, I got another call from an assistant chief, told me to be in the gold room, which is where, if you're in trouble, that's where you go.
That's where you go, okay.
Yeah. And so I went in, and this particular PIO, or that's Public Information Officer,
Yep.
he was there, and the commander was there. And I've known the commander for years. We worked together. And he said, you know why you're here, Tracy? And I said, no, I don't really. I said, I don't understand. And he said, well, sit down. It's about the Facebook post. And then the public information officer commenced to coming in on me pretty hard. And he was telling me that all my posts were racist. The one about religion was forcibly, forcing my religion. And I finally listened to it for a while. I got a little to the point where I thought, this is ridiculous, because he was really going deep. I looked at the commander, who I knew well. I said, you and I work together in downtown Nashville, some of the roughest neighborhoods there is. And I said, have you ever seen me treat anybody different? And he didn't say anything. He just kept straight. He didn't, he could have probably helped me out there, but he didn't.
Everyone was scared in that time. It was a weird time.
Yeah. Well, especially in the fire department. It's really authoritarian. It's if you got to get out of the line, especially at this time.
Yeah.
If you weren't walking in step with whatever the ideology was going on in Nashville at the time, you could get a call and be in trouble. There was all kinds of firemen for just mentioning political statements, nothing to do with anything, but just that you were obviously a Trump supporter or whatever.
Right.
You could be on the carpet quickly.
So you have these disciplinary actions. They came in and kind of reamed you a little bit. Take this down. Can't say this. You're a racist. Blah, blah, blah. Same song and dance that many people have experienced. So then, after these disciplinaries, then they just say, all right, Tracy, now we're demoting you?
Well, no, I'll try to make this quick.
Okay.
I had two more.
Two more? Jeez, they really got you.
Well, they put me on paid administrative leave for 7 days. And then I went to the second panel where there's 3 chiefs that they look at all the stuff and they say, they recommend what should happen to me. One of the chiefs is an EMS chief. She said, because of I made a really crummy joke. I didn't realize it was going to go like this, but I had a pair of underwear on my face, and I said, I forgot my mask or something like that. And it really wasn't a proud moment in the courtroom when you see that come up. But she said I should be fired because I probably killed people from making fun of not
masks.
wearing your mask.
Yeah. Well, masks don't work, so she was wrong.
The second was my district chief, good guy. He said, I've looked at everything. I've looked at Article 7. He said, I can't find anything wrong. And then the third commander, I think, he thought it was out of line too, and he's the one that recommended the 6 months and 2 years of no bidding.
Wow.
Yeah.
So 6 months and 2 years of paid administrative leave then?
No, 6 months as a firefighter.
Okay.
And then the next 2 years, I got to get my captain's job back, but I had to go wherever they sent me.
Okay, so out of Nashville.
In Nashville, yeah.
In Nashville.
Any halls in Nashville, but it was usually the halls that nobody really ever wanted to go to.
Gotcha. Okay. So at what point did you decide, you know what, this sounds a little unconstitutional? At what point did you say, I think I have some rights here that are being infringed upon? On the
third meeting, the director chief, the main guy, came in, and I was told I'm not allowed to speak in this meeting. And they had not told me what post had really drawn the foul yet,
Right.
And so I had the president of the union with me. I said, would you ask him at the end of this, because I can't speak, what post drew the foul? I'd just like to know. And it's been 5 years, and I still don't know. But he went through all this, and he said, I tried to help you. I talked to the mayor. He wanted to fire you, but I got it worked out where you're just going to have to do this 6 months and 2 years. He said, and he was pretty adamant about how he'd really worked hard to help me, and he may have, I don't know. But the president of the union asked him, said, well, Chief, could you just tell us what post it was that drew the foul? And he blew up. He got mad and stormed out the door. So I still didn't know. And then they took me to another chief's office, and he said, look, Turner, he says, you do this 6 months, keep your head down, it'll go by fast. I'll put you wherever you want to go. And I said, I don't care where you put me, just put me wherever. And he said, but if you come at us, I'm going to make your life hell. And that right there.
Ooh, that was a threat.
That was kind of the starting point. And I got to thinking about, one of the chiefs, I don't recall, told me it'd be wise for you to put an apology out on Facebook. And it was real. I was told it was a backhanded apology because I said I stand behind what I said.
Yeah.
If I offended anybody, I apologize. And they didn't think I was sincere enough or whatever. But so shortly later, I talked to my attorney, Larry Crane, who I speak highly of, think highly of. And he's been working through this for the last 3 or 4 years.
So obviously, it was ridiculous that this ever even happened to you. You're allowed to have an opinion. You're still a human being. You didn't do it in your official capacity. You're allowed to have a Facebook page, and you're allowed to have an opinion. This is the United States of America. I don't care if the tyrants in Nashville, think that everyone needs to be masked up and sit down and shut up except for when they're looting and rioting. But it was BS, full stop. But then you realize you got rights, and you go and you say, I got rights here, you violated them. A judge agreed with you. A judge agreed that your rights were violated. And then there was a settlement that was come to for a little over $100,000. Yes, and you were ready to accept that $100,000.
I was really tired of it. I'd been going through it for 4 years. I was just,
at this point, you're like, fine, I'll just take it.
I wasn't fine, but I just,
they beat you down. They beat you into submission.
In the mediation, they were saying, you probably, the way the times are, you may not. And so I said, I was tired of doing the whole thing, so I just accepted it.
And then the Nashville City Council, Metro City Council, they came back and they're like, they took their virtue signal stand. That was the hill they were going to die on. Tracy Turner has First Amendment rights, but he crossed the line because he disagreed with us and he disagreed with our worldview. So we're negating the settlement. No deal. And, they were cautioned, hey, listen, you do this, you FAFO, okay? But they did it anyway. They wanted to die on that hill. So they said, nope, no settlement. And so then what happened?
Well, what you were saying earlier about everybody having rights and everything. In Nashville, if you work for a fire department or any department in Nashville, that's not true. And if this case brings anything, I hope that it makes Metro, if they change their policies, that they'll reference the Constitution and treat these guys that go out to help citizens. It's the same as the citizens that are out there, but it's not the way it is. They're just not allowed to have any kind of opinion that doesn't go straight down the line. And that's wrong.
But I mean, you won your case. So obviously, whatever they want is not superseding your rights given to you by the Constitution, because you won the settlement. They try to negate your settlement. Then you go to a federal jury.
Yes, ma'am.
And they also agreed that you have First Amendment rights.
Yes, ma'am.
And so you were originally going to get about $100,000, and then your victory ended up being $1.8 million.
Yes, ma'am.
So tell me how that felt.
I'm shocked. I mean, I was surprised. I was appreciative. I was the jury. They, you can't really talk to them. I'd love to shake everyone's hand, but they saw through what was going on in that courtroom, because there was a lot of things that were not adding up. For instance, again, I hate to bring the PIO. No, I don't hate to. The PIO was on the stand, and he's a real, he's an intelligent guy. He speaks well. But while he answered perfectly while their lawyer was talking to him. Then when my attorney got up there, he said, look, I've talked to all these chiefs, and nobody really seems to know where this post started, how it all began. He goes, but I've got these emails where you took a post to HR. And that's got the ball rolling. He goes, where did you get that post? And he just said it was a random post off of Facebook. Well, my attorney said, well, did you get it off of a group? And he kind of hesitated a little bit, and he goes, yes. He said, what group was that? He said, Black People on the Move, on the way up, or something like that. It's like 47,000. Probably a great group. I have no idea. But he said, do you remember who wrote the post? And he named the lady's name that made the post. He said, do you know her? And he goes, Paul, says, no. He goes, do you know? He named another name, a Captain so-and-so. He goes, and he kind of paused. And he said, do you know him? And he goes, yeah. He goes, did you know that just by chance you chose his wife post out of 47,000 people, his ex-wife now, I think, to use this post to start this against my client, and it kind of got
Right.
yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what good lawyers do. Obviously, you had a good lawyer because you got a great deal out of it. But I think to me here, the moral of the story is not only for the city council that wanted to stand on business and virtue signal. I mean, at the end of the day, Nashville taxpayers would have been out about $100,000. And now they're out $1.8 million. And I'm glad that you got it because it's ridiculous. But to me, the moral of the story here is the city council thought that they were going to, fight for justice and all this. Well, they could have gotten you off their back for $100,000. Then they had to give you $1.8 million plus attorney's fees, which I imagine were pretty steep given this went on for years. So to me, not only is the moral of the story that the Metro City Council is made of a bunch of idiots who are not serving the people of Nashville well. I've been on their case since I moved here, very outspoken. Boy, it's a good thing I didn't work for the city because they would have had a lot of posts to reference of mine, proudly, by the way. But you stood up for yourself. And I think that this is the point. There are so many people that work in the public and private sector, that work for cities, that work for governments, that work for mom and pops, that work for big corporations, who, when they are bullied into submission, they sit down, they shut up, they put out the apology, and they don't know their rights, and they're not willing to fight for them. But you had something within you that said, listen, you're also a servant of the community. You're a public servant who's dedicated your life and your career to serving the people of Nashville. And you reached a point where you said, I'm not going to sit down and take it. And would you do anything different?
No, but I would like to explain that a little bit. Firefighters, police officers, if they go against the upstairs, not only will they can forget about a promotion, it can harm their children if they get on and try to come up. It's a really authoritarian kind of situation. Yep. So people that are in the middle of their job, they got homes, they got a family, they got to take care of it, they can't really buck up against them. I was at a point where I could have retired in a few days. I wasn't there yet, but I was 25 years when it started. But I had a few days and luckily crossed that line. But there's guys that just, it's their whole way of life. So they can't fight the system down there. And that's a shame.
It is a shame. But I understand not wanting, you can't pick every fight, right? You got to pick your battles.
Right.
But I would say to those folks out there, I completely understand it. It doesn't even matter if you're a firefighter, a police officer, or if you're a public figure. The cost of speaking out for some people is steep. You might lose your job. You might get canceled, which is what a lot of people happened to them in 2020.
Yes, ma'am.
Whereas maybe it wasn't your case, but it was they're being canceled by the court of public opinion. But I think that you get to a point, especially in 2020, where a lot of people had had enough. And I wish there were more people like yourself who had had enough, because we might have been able to end the lunacy a little quicker. And I think that too many people were too compliant with the tyrannical behavior of not only city governments, but of the federal government, of every institution in this country that told us that we should wear a mask on our face, get a vaccine, deal with our cities being looted and burned, and we should all just shut up about it if we have an opinion or a feeling that runs contrary to the overriding or overarching opinion that's the favored one at the time. I think that's ridiculous. And I think that the people in Tennessee obviously stand behind you. Nashville's a weird place. Nashville's a blue speck in a very red state.
Yes, ma'am.
But you stood up for yourself. And I know that your journey is different than others, and others don't want to fight battles because they don't have it in them or they don't want the fight. But in your case, when you tell your family members about this, I mean, are you happy you did what you did?
I am now.
Yeah.
Happy. I hate to go back on something.
That's
a
all
pretty
right.
important point I want to tell you. When the Metro Council voted 31-0 to vote it down, and with 3 abstentions, I think, we had someone intercept a letter from the mayor's office who sent a letter to every single Metro Council member and said, vote this down. We want to vote it down. So it came from the mayor on down. So it's just a.
So was the mayor at that time John Chicken Cooper, or was it this Freddie?
This
Freddie
the
person.
Current mayor.
Oh, even worse.
It was somebody else's office. We've got the letter where it says mayor's office and all that stuff.
So they wanted them to deny your settlement.
Yes,
so, well, they were going to give you $100,000, and then they had to give you $1.8 million plus attorney's fees. So I guess the moral of the story is also that at the end of the day, the system doesn't always right itself, but sometimes it does. and it's beautiful. And I'm so happy that I got to see your story. I'm so happy that you're in Nashville and I get to meet you because I think you're a patriot. Not only do I agree with what you said, but I'll be honest with you, Tracy, even if you were posting in favor of BLM, in favor of masks and vaccines and all of this, I would still support your right to be able to have free speech in your personal capacity as a human being living in the United States of America.
100%.
And I think that's the important part here. Free speech, I understand that there's certain situations and stipulations and certain, decorum that you have to have in a certain position. But it's quite obvious that not only a judge ruled in your favor the first time, but then the jury ruled in your favor the second time, and you ended up getting more out of it. So I think you're a patriot. What would your message be to the folks out there that might be in the fire department or the police department, or might be a public school teacher, or might just be a cashier at the Publix? What would you tell them about free speech?
Tommy, I don't think I can explain to you the situation that most of these guys are in. I would say stand up if you can, but I also understand that you have 15, 20 years into a career, and you can't just say, all right, I'm going to walk off. They have a lot of power. For the sakes of the public servants, I hope that Metro thinks about that and gives them the same rights as the citizens that they risk their lives for.
I'd also say this. There are strength in numbers. So
True.
I would like to see some of these fellowships of firefighters and police officers and their unions
I agree.
go to bat a little harder for each other.
I agree 100%.
Because that could make a big difference as well. There are strength in numbers. And you know what? I'd also remind folks that during the Summer of Love 2020, it was you folks that were the essential employees that were going out doing your jobs when everyone else was ordering Uber Eats in their sweatpants. So we thank you for what you've done for Nashville. I'm so happy for your victory. Thank you for taking the time to explain it to us today. And you know what? I would also add this. I understand that not everybody wants to put themselves in the position to have to fight. But I would encourage folks to know their rights, because there's some times where there might be a process and there might feel like the weight of an institution is on their back. And in some cases, that institution might win. But in others, you're just smart to know your rights, because you might just find out that you have more than you knew. And I think that that's an important lesson as well, Tracy.
I agree.
And you knew it and you were smart enough.
I don't know about the smart part, but I hope it changes things a little bit for everybody.
Well, now you're about $1.8 million richer, Tracy. Now you can toot your horn all around this city, and I hope the mayor and all future mayors of this city are listening, and the council members as well. We can just remind them of how sweet your victory was. Thank you so much for taking the time, and Nashville's happy to have you.
Tommy, thanks for letting me tell my side of the story. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, my audience is very favorable to you. And we happen to share a lot of similar opinions, so that doesn't hurt either. Thanks so much, Tracy, and God bless you. I hope you enjoy your retirement.
Thank you so much.
$1.8 million richer. Folks, that does it for this very special Free Speech Nashville edition episode of Tomi Lahren is Fearless. I'll catch you right back here Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Tomi Lahren is Fearless. From right here in Nashville, God bless and take care. So guys, after my interview with Tracy Turner, Metro Nashville's legal team filed a motion of appeal for that $1.8 million that was awarded to Tracy. So back to the courts this goes, costing taxpayers more money in legal fees and filings. Plus, it could result in an even higher award for Tracy. Well, we wish Tracy all the best on his ongoing legal battle. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want more of my hottest takes, must-see conversations, and of course, my final thoughts, click here and make sure you subscribe here so you never miss a beat. I'll be here every weekday, and I hope you'll join me.